Hey guys, it's Laura. Welcome to my channel. Today I am sharing a 12 by 12 scrapbook layout process video with you using the Maggie Holmes Flourish collection. And I actually bought this kit digitally, so that way I could print off the elements as much as I wanted. And I did buy some of the physical products as well, but here is the benefit of the digital products that you can see right here as I'm fussy cutting all of the elements out that I printed. When you buy an ephemera pack or a sticker pack, you get like two of those black and white butterflies, one that faces to the side and one that faces straight forward. And you can't really repeat elements like that if the physical thing only comes with one or two of them. Whereas with these digital products, I was able to resize the butterflies as much as I wanted and get them in all different sizes, print them off several times, and I had multiples, so I could create this entire layout with these butterflies flying across the page. And this layout is a very rare instance of me knowing exactly what I want to do at the beginning of the project. Like, I knew I wanted to create this black and white layout with the butterflies flying across the page. And the photograph is a picture of my baby sister holding her newborn baby, which is my new baby niece, and I'm so excited. And it's black and white because it was taken in the hospital where there is that really harsh yellow lighting. So I converted the photo to black and white, and then I had all these beautiful black and white elements that I knew I wanted to use on the page here. So I scattered these butterflies across the page in a diagonal pattern from the bottom left to the top right side of the page there. And I kind of do it sized as well, where they're kind of big at the bottom and they get smaller as they get up towards the top. And of course, there's a little variation to that, but for the most part, that's how it goes. So the butterflies look like they're flying across the page. After I rearrange them in a way that I like, I use a pencil to trace a trail mark behind all of them so you could kind of see their flight pattern across the page. And I use my awl to put little dots along all of those lines so that way I could hand stitch them. And I love the way this hand stitching turned out. You can kind of see it here on the page. It's white stitching on a white page, so it is not super obvious, but I think it adds a really feminine, soft, beautiful touch to the page. And I really love how it turned out. However, I will say, it is very difficult to hand stitch those tiny little circles that I drew in for the butterfly's flight pattern. And that was a little tough because you have to make at least 5 holes for each little circle doodle that they turn around in. And that is because if you only make like 3 holes, it ends up looking like a triangle instead of a circle. So that was time intensive, and it involved a lot of little tiny holes and hand stitching that took quite a while, which is why I do the hand stitching off camera, because it is a very lengthy process. And now I am just putting my butterflies back on the page and taping them down. I had to grab out my phone to look at how I had the butterflies laid out before I took them off to hand stitch. And I had taken a photo of that beforehand because I just knew that after I got done hand stitching all of these flight patterns, I would not remember exactly what size butterfly went where and how to align all of those little butterfly ephemera pieces with their correct flight pattern there. So I'm glad I thought ahead and I took a photo so I could look back at that later when I'm laying my butterflies back down. Now I'm just getting all of my butterflies down, and you'll see that I curl up the edges of all of those butterflies before I stick them down, and that just creates some dimension across the page and gives the illusion that their wings really are flapping and that they're flying and they're, coming off the page. And I love how that looks, and I love having a little bit of dimension to all of my pages. And now things are going to go downward from here. So I have these really gorgeous gold alphabet stickers that I loved. They're kind of like a fancy fairy tale storybook font. And I think, oh, the gold on a black and white layout will look beautiful, but it's too much plain white in the background. So I grab out my watercolors and I think, well, I can't put any color on the page because it's a black and white and gold layout. So I guess I got to stick to black, and I decide to use the packaging technique to create a black little watercolor background where I'm going to put my title. And I will tell you right now, I am upset that I did this. I do not like the way it turned out. It caused me all sorts of design problems, and even though I love this layout in the end, I really, really wish I hadn't put this really obnoxious black watercolor title background thing right up there in that corner. I am disappointed with how it turned out, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I certainly was not going to restart this layout all over again because, as I mentioned, those hand-stitched butterfly flight patterns took forever to do. But even though I didn't like it, I certainly wasn't going to start the layout all over again because, as I mentioned before, hand stitching all those butterfly flight patterns took forever. So I stick it out, even though I spend the whole rest of this process video thinking that I hated what I did. And because that black background there now looks too obnoxious, I decide I should add some black splatters behind where the photograph is going to go, which is another decision I'm kind of iffy on. So yeah, you'll see here, this is where the issues start. I had written out Hello Kimberly, which is the name of my new niece, and I put that down on paper, and then I decide it doesn't look good and I can't figure out how it will look good. And I just imagine that this would have gone so much better and easier without that obnoxious black background watercolor situation up there at the top. But like I said, there's nothing I can do about it now. So what I end up having to do, because it is not a big enough watercolor background for the words Hello Kimberly, is I end up taking hello away eventually. And it takes me a while to figure it out because I really wanted to do Hello Kimberly. But that black background is not enough, and I certainly was not going to add more black watercolor to this page after hating the way it turned out the first time. So eventually, I do take away some of those thickers and I shorten the title a little, which helps a tiny bit, but still in the end, I wish I didn't have that big black blotch of paint there. But what can you do? I guess for future reference, I know to watercolor before I hand stitch. That way, in case I hate it, I can start all over again. So now I am going to mat my photograph here with some white cardstock, and I thought about adding some black cardstock too. You can see that I had pulled out just to pull that black watercolor background out somewhere else in the page too, but I don't end up doing that, and I'm glad I didn't. At this point, the more white I can get onto the page, the better, because that obnoxious paint splatter is very distracting. So you can see now I am going to rearrange the title and fix that up a little bit. And I think it does look better just having the word Kimberly there. And then I add some of these cute little phrase stickers from also the digital Maggie Holmes Flourish collection. And I add a couple of those. I really love the font and I think it's super, super beautiful. I can tell now, looking at this video, that my title is a little wonky on the page, but I think at this point I was so annoyed I had just decided I was done with it, and I didn't care. But now looking at the video, it's kind of bothering me, so I might go back and straighten that title out a little bit. Anyway, now I'm just creating some guidelines so I can hand journal out some details here. And you can see I pull up my phone and I reference a text that my sister sent me, which had all of my new niece's birth stats. So the exact time she was born and how much she weighed and how my sister was feeling about it. So I just kind of took all those little facts down there and I journaled about them, and then I signed it from me. So that way when Kimberly looks back at it later, she will know that her aunt wrote it, and that's why it's not from a first person it's not from the perspective of her mother, even though it's talking about how her mother felt, if that makes sense. So I decide that I really need to fix this layout somehow, and adding sequins would be a good way to help fix it. I was right. Adding sequins helps. Again, it doesn't get rid of that black background splatter there, but what can you do? So I add some clear sequins across my page, and then I also grab these really beautiful shiny, shiny, shiny gold ones. And I think the gold sequins really help to take the gold in that title there and bring it somewhere else on the page so it doesn't look so misfitting. And I just use my little planner glue stick here from Prima to glue down my sequins. Usually I use tiny glue dots, but I had run out, and this little glue stick here ended up being a lifesaver. It was very messy for my finger, but it worked well to get the sequins down on the page, and I'm telling you right now, they will not budge, so that was great. And this is my finished layout, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope you're feeling inspired to know that even when a project doesn't work out exactly like you had wanted, or you think it's all messed up, perhaps maybe it ends up looking beautiful to somebody in the end. I am hoping that this is a layout that my sister and my niece will cherish, and I'm hoping to put together a little scrapbook for her. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are able to get crafty today and that you're feeling inspired. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I will catch you in the next video. Bye!